I say that the applause is for you for showing up to this class so that you can learn to be more. You know, you've got to be grateful for every step that you take in this business. Check in always at any stage of your business that you're just taking a little moment to look at your own timeline and what you've achieved. If you've come from any of those money levels they talked about yesterday and you're going up through those numbers, take a moment to say, I have created the next step in my business already and I know I can take one more, right? Take a moment to acknowledge if you were in survival when you started like me and then you got to management. And now you're even getting to accumulation, but it's time to really thrive now. Take a moment to just celebrate that you have done all of this work. And most of the people doing this class are not just building a personal brand. They've been building a personal brand for 1 to 7 years. And now they just want real connection. They want to make real money. They want to connect themselves in their brand. They want to go up a money level. This is about upgrading your self-worth and upgrading the worth of your brand. So you upgrade both, that they come up at exactly the same time. This morning we're going to keep creating timelines and really start defining what a path is to what we want. So the cool thing about manifesting, well, the uncool thing about manifesting is, like I said yesterday, it feels like a fantasy. But the truth is once you focus on something, you are in a state of manifestation. Once you focus on something with emotion, you're activating that manifestation, the creating of this thing. And here's something that you have to realize, even in your choices that you're making, like what am I going to manifest? Even in the path that you have chosen to walk, everything that you think about yourself will impact the success of this business. Everything you believe about yourself will impact this next phase of manifestation, because you can only ask from a place of value. And if you don't see yourself as valuable, or you don't think you're worthy of having things and asking for them, if you truly don't believe that you are worthy of asking for the things that you want, they can't come to you. They just can't come to you. Now, just like money energy, I just want you to look back. Now, we don't need to go back to when I was a child and when Dad was divorcing and controlling money and when Mum was without, and when we don't need to relive our childhoods. You just need to go, where did this stinky money energy come from? Just take a look. It's okay, you're adults now. You know, your parents are not coming to fix it. We literally go into our older adult life waiting for our parents to come back and make our lives better because they ruined them in the beginning. No, this is your business and your life. It's time to stop playing old rules and old programming and those old limits, and now start creating your own belief about yourself. Now listen to this. When a child grows up without self-worth, it had parents who did not know self-worth. A parent can't teach you what it does not have. A child that grows up without self-worth, they struggle to find two energies. Do you believe this? Do you know what they are? Your goodness and your power. Your goodness and your self-power. Now, if you grew up with social curators that somehow took away your goodness and your power, or somehow had none of their own and robbed you of yours, those are the two things you need to give yourself in order to ask for more. You need to see your goodness and you need to feel your self-power, because you are in charge of this. A child that grows up without self-worth will seek validation from others and never measure up and never feel good enough. And a parent can't teach you what they don't have. They can't teach you about abundance. They can't teach you about unconditional love. And they can't teach you about self-value because they don't have it. Now, think of your own children. They don't do what you say. They do as you do. They watch you ask for money in equal exchange. They watch you. They watch you ask for things. They watch you honor yourself. They watch you set boundaries with other people. They watch you speak up for yourself. You're teaching your children all of this now. So if you're sitting there crying about what your mum and dad did to you, then you're going to teach your children the same thing. They don't do as you say, they do as you do. one of the most, I think, impactful quotes I've ever used on stage is stop pretending that your children are going to have more than what you've allowed for yourself. I feel that down my back. That goes down my spine right to my feet. This idea that I need to ask for more so that my children can see me stepping up and receiving more. You know, personal power is the ability to build your self-confidence. Now, like I said, confidence comes from action, not from vision. So when you start your vision, you're not going to have any confidence. It's only when we start to see it clearly, get lots of clarity, speak it clearly, and ask for it, that we connect our heart. And once we connect it, I want this, then you're in alignment. That's when confidence is formed. It's formed in your solar plexus after you're completely in alignment with what you want. You know what you want, you feel it, you can feel it in every cell in your body. Now you're going to start walking towards it because you're just connected to this alignment. So that's where self-confidence builds, and this is where you also achieve all of your goals. To ask for more, you have to believe that you're worthy of more because of the law of no more and no less. Now, confident people are magnetic. Confident people are so magnetic in a room. You know, we were talking about dating last night, and somebody said, I went on a date with a man that's not confident, and they said something, and my husband said to me, you know, that's a bit cruel, that was a bit harsh. And I said, you know what? Women are brought up, raised to believe that men just have confidence and we don't. So we expect men to be more confident than us. They have the strength, they have the power in the room, and we've come to expect that from them. But what is a woman's confidence? Because the more confident a woman can become into a room, the more she needs attention, the more, oh look, she thinks more of herself, you know, and so often woman's confidence can be different. So just check in on your confidence meter and know that you don't have confidence in vision. You get your confidence when you take your action. And I think that is just one of the most powerful things. Did you know if your goodness and your power come from mum and dad, guess what? Goodness is a euphemism for God. Thank goodness for me. Thank goodness I was born. I am goodness. You know, it is the goodness inside you. It is entheos that comes from enthusiasm. Entheos is the Greek word that means to have a God inside you, to have the energy, a God-like energy inside you. Enthusiasm, connection, goodness. You are good. Now, a lot of people don't treat themselves like they're good, and they start to get evidence that they're not good. And somebody says, you're not good enough, and you're not enough. And then that old programming comes in, but now I'm trying to get rid of these shackles so that you can start creating a timeline to what you want. Asking for more money, asking for more time, more support, asking for more, more, more. Find your goodness. Don't for any moment believe that somebody has told you that you are not worthy of something that you want in this world. I didn't finish high school. If I listened to every person say you will never be able to build a business, I wouldn't have built a business. Hello, here I am. And the crazy part about it is, like, in hindsight, it's so easy when you look back and say, wow, they weren't really telling me, they were just telling me their limits. And I was also attracting that, because you attract what you don't want to hear, right? I don't want to hear that, and of course that's what you hear. You're never going to make it. There was also part of my spirit that is, I have a bit of a hard time with authority. So when people said, you can't do this, something inside me goes like this. Sorry, what did you say? You can't do it. And then something goes, just deep inside me goes like this. Watch this then. I can't be told that I can't do something. You tell me I can't do something, and I just want to do it to prove to you that I can do it, but I'll do it fully connected because I believe in that. Now, I did my Clifton Strengths with Terry Hofford, and you can reach out to Terry, but basically I did this test online that is your Clifton Strengths to find out your strengths. And it turns out in my top 5, I have command, I'm an activator, and I'm an achiever. So I basically run at a wall, hit the wall, and I'll say, okay, it's gonna work, but I'll run at anything first. In fear, in like low self-worth, I will just charge at something that I want because I have those three things that make me like want to just activate on things. And that's part of who I am. And it's really good to find out what your most powerful strengths are, because it's the only test I've ever done that told me what my strengths were, not my weaknesses. And you can obviously see the other 32 strengths at your lowest point would be your weaknesses. And then you look and you go, oh. And to find discipline in my bottom 5 and my lowest strengths, you're going to laugh, because today we're going to talk about discipline. So finding your personal power means you've got to reclaim control over your life. And that's why when you're in debt, you're actually not in control of your life, and you feel so out of control that you actually think you can't manage your money, but it's only because you're avoiding it. So that personal power means taking control not just of your debt and not just, but your path forward. In the money steps, I want you to keep going up. In order to go up in your money to the next level, like, let's say I want to go from management, stabilization, I want to go to management, and know how to do that. I've got to take control of the management of my money. If you want to go from management to accumulation, I have to take control of the direction of my money. Where is it going to go? Where am I going to direct this money? What is it that I'm working? Remember, I did my house and I got my house. Now I've stopped giving a target to that bank account, and now it's doing nothing. It's benign. It's going backwards because I've been taking money out of it. I looked at it the other day and I was like, there is no active focus on this bank account, which means there's no timeline to the next thing that I want. It's that simple. All we're ever dealing with is that horrible little emotional self that's always getting stuck in our brain. But once we get our emotions right, we realize that business is just commerce, and it's setting expectations, and it's delivering on promises and connecting to your clients and going back to the magic of making what you make and serving how you serve and doing what you do. So it's about recognizing that you have the ability to make all of these choices for you, set all the boundaries around you, and create the business and the life and the income that you really want. You are in charge. If you feel right now that you're not in charge of this path, okay, then somebody else is. And if somebody else is in charge of your path right now, just check that it's not somebody that's meant to be helping you, that's keeping you from growing. This is one of the hardest things you will ever learn, especially when you want to start from scratch and you need a partner to support you, and you need your partner to support you, and you give that best, I can do this, you've got me, and they're supporting you, and you are all over the place. You're not making them feel safe. They don't see any evidence that this is working. You're chopping and changing. You keep going home and saying, Sue Bryce said I'm worth this, but your partner's like going, well, cool, but when will you decide that? When will you start saying I'm worth this? Because they start hating me because you're not doing it. So sort it out, man. Like, you know, stop throwing me under the bus. Start moving. That's the whole thing. Like, they're always like, there, that's Sue Bryce. And I was like, well, if your wife listened, if your husband listened to me, they would be making money right now. So I always laugh when I meet partners. But I need you to know that it's not only taking control, it's taking control of your future path and then the connection to that timeline. You're in charge of it. You're empowering it. The more the focus, the stronger the connection, the quicker the timeline. It's that simple. So you don't need permission. You don't need validation. All of that is now gone. You have to understand that it is absolutely pointless looking out at people and seeing how they're receiving you and what they think of you. I want you to come back to, I am so powerful as a giver that my focus is only what I'm giving and then asking for equal exchange. That is the most important part. I just want to talk about this one more time. I don't believe, unless you grew up with parents with incredible self-worth, that any children are brought up with a really powerful sense of self-worth. To every degree, they either get something mum and dad have gone through, or they get the opposite of that. They're trying to push away from everything mum and dad gave them. at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you grew up with money in your home or not. If you felt that a parent did not fully love and accept you, you will grow up with a feeling of not good enough. Because who's going to love you if your own parents who made you in their image cannot love and accept you? And to any human being that has felt abandoned by a parent in any way, shape, or form, this will directly affect your self-worth, your ability to ask for money, and your ability to shine. Now, understand this. At the end of the day, not only could your parents not give you what they don't have, you are capable of outgrowing them financially, intellectually, spiritually, in every way, shape, or form. And you are completely okay to do that. Your identity does not exist in an umbrella under theirs. It is yours. You know, my parents brought up 4 very individual children. They were just like, you are what you are. Go out into the world. Somebody said it's an oyster. That's it. My parents were like, I don't want you to, like I said, I want to leave school when I was 15. I'm not learning anything. And they both went, okay. I couldn't stay anyway. I'd had a problem there. So it was just something like, my parents were just like, you'll go and find yourself and become whatever you want to be. I understand I grew up in a home where I could come home with blue hair or tattoos, and my parents would be like, cool. So I was lucky. I was able to find my own way and become my own person, but a lot of people aren't. They're still living under this restriction that maybe mum and dad thinks this about them. And I was like, you're an adult now. It's time to let it go. If you can really push into 2 energies right now, you need to understand when it comes to marketing yourself, finding your brand, speaking your voice, putting yourself on social media, standing up at networking, presenting to people, teaching people, coaching people, becoming an industry leader, becoming a brand. You know, when you're starting to stand out in your community, you're starting to stand out in your town and your city, and before you know it, you're just standing out to people, you're standing above other people. You're choosing that. If you didn't want to be famous, and that's what business owners are. Everyone grows up in a small town famous. Well, everyone who becomes a business owner becomes somebody in the community. You clearly want to stand out and lead people. Why would you be starting a business? If you can hold to what is my goodness and what is my self-power, then you absolutely can give that goodness to people, and it's inside you, but you have to see it. You really have to see it. You know, when you combine your goodness, right, with your power, then clearly, if I believe I'm good, and I don't mean good at this thing, if I believe I'm a good person, if I believe I treat myself good, I treat others good, I am good, then clearly, if I believe that, I believe I'm worth more. And if you were growing up with this feeling like, wow, I didn't realize goodness or power was something that I needed to adjust in my life, but I have difficult parents, so now that you say that, I realize they have robbed me of a lot of self-worth and a lot of self-power, and they've also robbed me, you know, of a lot of just opportunity in my life because they did not teach me that I was worth more, because they don't believe they're worth more. That's their limit. You grew up with someone with limits, and guess what? Your mind is more. Your heart is bigger. You're already opening yourself up to the next level, and they're not. It's just what's happening. So you can just forgive it now and start to move with confidence. So I always say to people, avoidance behaviors, right? When we eat, when we drink, when we shop, when we do all the avoidance things, the bad things, the good things that become bad things, they always start off as self-care, okay? And they're actually, that's not true. You think it's self-care, it's stress relief. It starts out as stress relief, but then it becomes an addiction. So we avoid whatever it is that we want to avoid, and then we become sort of we get stuck on our addictions. Now look at all of our addictions, okay? The eating, the spending, they give us feelings, dopamine. Have you noticed each one of them give you a false feeling of fulfillment. You seek fulfillment. Now, fulfillment to me was I'm seeking what I believe is just fulfillment, and it's translating into consuming for dopamine. And understand this, the second you find fulfillment in making money and career, you can find fulfillment in achieving your goals, not making money. People are going to rag on me for talking about money too much, but rag away. I made it. Let me show you how. Okay? So I'm not afraid of that judgment, and I am teaching a money class, so I'm going to talk about money all the time. You can be fulfilled by reaching your goals that are financial. Money does not fulfill you. The goal in achieving it does. Sort that out. Money is just a byproduct. Love is a verb, and the byproduct comes the more I connect to the love of who I am and what I do and what I ask for. Trust me, there is no greater truth. So to be fulfilled in your life, to be fulfilled is to act with confidence. To be fulfilled is to live with purpose. It's to radiate your strength. It's what you bring to this world. It's your power. You're strong and powerful. You know, I always thought to myself about 20 years ago, I made it a rule that whenever I walked into a room, my first focus is how much value can I bring to this room? How much value can I bring to this moment? How much value can I bring to the room? Sometimes I bring value to the room by staying quiet. But I acknowledge what bringing value to the room means and what bringing value to this moment means. I thought to myself, if I walked into every room and say, hi, and I bring this energy of like, how's everyone doing today? Hey, and I see everyone, and you look at people, you'd be amazed how many people are living their lives not connected to people. Walk in, take control of that energy in the room and watch everybody be like, you know, when you leave somebody, the best thing is a non-physical compliment. When you're leaving somebody and they say, you make my heart feel light. I feel uplifted after I've spent time with you. It was energizing just talking to you. Oh my gosh, I was really down when I came in today, and today you just like, you've lifted me and refocused me. And I made a promise 20 years ago, don't gossip, don't get stuck in problem focus, don't get stuck in drama focus. I don't want to know people's drama. I don't even want to hear people's old sad stories. Because when you start to move people, like, come on, let's go, let's shake off our trauma, let's shake off our past, let's like childhood, old programming, okay, get that a kick in the face. And then once you shake it all off, I'm like, cool, this is what we're going to do. We're going to create a timeline. We're going to get clarity on this next step. It's a big one. It's making you nervous. I can see the goosebumps. Oh, feel it. Okay, and I'm getting you all connected. And then you'll come up to me and you'll go, excuse me, I just have to tell you my story. And I'll go, oh, your story about how you're about to explode in a trajectory of energy and money and success? No, I have to tell you my trauma story. Why would you re-empower that right now? We've just talked about where we're going. We don't want to talk about where we come from, but you need to understand why I can't move because I have trauma. I was like, yeah, you do. So many people have trauma. That was in the past. Can you see how trauma is stopping you from moving forward? Deal with it. You've got to deal with it. You can't let it go. You have to accept I move with trauma. So it means that my filter is trauma. So when somebody rejects me, I'm more likely to feel a lot more trauma than you are. And then I will go and cry for 3 days, eat a pound cake from Costco. Fixes it every time. And then that's it, right? And then you literally, not today, Satan, and then you come back because you're in a sugar like void. And the truth is at the end of the day, you're just dealing with your own filter and your own self and your own past, and you have to get out of the way and process that in order to ask for more. Do you currently have a 6-figure business? Are you working towards a 7-figure business? Mostly I teach creative solopreneurs. I know most of my students have a 6-figure business. I know this because I have not coached anybody to a 7-figure yet, but there are currently 8 of my students who are sitting just below an 8-figure number. And they've been at this for 10 years. And I'm going to watch one of them go over that 7-figure line to $1 million in income. Now, if you're a solopreneur, just you, just you, that's a personal brand. If you have part-time staff or contractors, wonderful, but you have to allow for them in the budget. So just you as a solo brand, write down what you want your income to be next year. So you think about it, you want to make sure it's congruent to the path you're currently walking. So if you write 3 times as much, twice as much, there better be a path to it. Otherwise, you're going to fail at this, it's not a test, you're going to fail at this example or this exercise before you've even started. And when you truly get that number, you're going to look at it and you're going to go, okay, how different is that from the number that you're currently making? Write it down. Now, if you have clarity and you tell me that you have clarity around the number that you want to make, but you haven't done your Thrive budget and you haven't written it all out, you don't have clarity. Go and do your Thrive budget and then come back and tell me what you want to make next year. Now that number is the goal. And it's not a don't make it willy-nilly. It's define it. Be specific. Now, I want you to deconstruct it. I want you to deconstruct that number. Where is it going to come from? How many units will get you there? When you go to the Creator Calculator and you look at your product, how many of those products at your margin do you have to move to get to that number? We're just solving a problem. This is a game. You don't need to be scared. You don't need to say, but how? I'm telling you, but how. You gave me a number. You sell a product. That's tangible manifestation. How many of your products do you need to sell in the next 12 months to hit that number? Is there a timeline to this money? Keep going. Work it out. Deconstruct it. Where's that money going to come from? You don't have to do the how. I'm telling you, you sell a product. I was like, okay, I could sell 10,000 of those. Then what would your goal be? If your goal was to sell 10,000 units, and that's it, 10,000 units, and I can get $1 million, that might take me 1 year, that might take me 5 years, that might take me 10 years. Give me the timeline to it. And that's what you're going to make on the way, and that is your tangible manifestation. Cool. Because so many people come to me and say, I want coaching. And I say, cool, what do you want? And they go, I want what you have. And I go, cool. Okay, well, I'm an educator. I'm a personal brand. I mastered a craft. I am a photographer. I'm a speaker. I'm an educator. I have products and all of those revenue streams coming into my business. Okay, give me your path forward. Don't have one. Give me your vision. I don't have one. You're the vision. I want what you have. I was like, cool. How are you going to do that? Selling what? To whom? And when they go, I want to be on stage. Do you? Okay, let's go. Send me a proposal and a video and a speaker reel. Well, I don't have any of those things. I just want to be up on the stage. Cool. Go away, work on a talk, film it, give me a proposal. No, that's not what they're saying to me. They want to pay me so I can give them the validation that they're good enough to stand up here, but they're not doing the steps to take it, and they're not creating a timeline to it. So it doesn't work. There's no timeline to this money. And if you truly are like, I can't, I'm stuck, and I go, really, show me the timeline, there's never a timeline. It means you're not connected to it, you're not actively walking, you're not focused on it, and you're not bringing it to you, not speaking it. It's over there, and you don't know how to break through. And if you don't know how, it's something you're doing that you're not facing. And that's just that simple truth. You know, very few people get to 7 figures. In order to get to 7 figures, I'm going to walk you through my growth now, but in order to get to 7, you've got to be selling a lot more than trading money for time, or you've got to scale up with staff. Now, I scaled up to a 7-figure business with 8 staff, and I was only getting $50,000 a year. That's not scaling up. I was getting the same amount of money, and everybody else was getting paid And yes, I was taking $1 million, but because there wasn't a profit margin for me, I was not making any money. So inevitably, looked good on the outside, was dying on the inside. How long will it take me to get to that income that I just wrote? Well, that tells me, why don't you tell me that? Why don't you put your current income, so let's say your current income is 160K and you would like it to be 300. Yep, there we go, almost double everything. We always do it, we double everything. We double everything. My goal is to focus on the timeline to that. Not the but how, the timeline. I know what I want to sell. And remember when Sue said there are 5 ways to make more money in your business right now. Number 1, increase your prices. Number 2, add more products. Number 3, drop the cost of your products. When you think about it right now, you could even increase a lot of, where's that coming from? By simply activating those 5 steps in your business. So when you say, well, where's an extra 20 grand going to come from? Simply a price rise. There it is, fill it in. That's how smart you are. It's time to start thinking like a business owner and not like a poor little needy meat sack that needs validation to make money, because this is what we are. We're just like, can I do this? And then it's like, yeah, you can. And it's like, can I really do this? And you're like, yeah, I can. It's like, can I sell this? And it's like, yeah, I can. And it's like, oh, yeah, I can do this. You just focus on this number and you start to create that timeline to it. So how long will it take me? How strong is your vision? How strong is your connection to it every day when you wake up? Because you know, if you woke up every day and went, I create my day. Oh, goosebumps. I create my day. I create my business. I reconnect to my goals. I know what I want. I know who I am. I know what I do. Let's go. Every single day, that's how I connect. And look, you can feel it in your body. You know, your intuition, your body is just constantly firing. It's just constantly connecting. Your gut instinct is unbelievable, and it will save you in business over and over and over again. Trust me, it will. Listen to the feeling part of you. Listen to this part that honors you every single day. It'll tell you when clients are wrong for you. It will tell you when a path is not lit up for you. It will tell you when somebody is treating you with disrespect, which means you're treating yourself with disrespect. And it will tell you when you need to set boundaries. And resentment will remind you need more boundaries, and envy will remind you that you need to ask for more. So listen to your constant feeling of listen to that little voice. That's my thoughts and my feelings. Listen to them and then tell them to shut up. Because you don't have to believe them. You just have to listen to them. So like I said yesterday, this timeline will change. So it's not a goal. If you say, I want 300K, that's not set in concrete. That's just like, I want to create a timeline to this number first. That's not, this is what I have to earn, okay? Because this is going to change as you start walking the timeline. The more connected you get to the timeline, the faster it starts to grow. What if you hit 300,000 in a year and then you were like, clearly I need a new goal? So this is a floating focus. It's not set in concrete. Now I'm going to tell everybody, this is what we do. I declare, I am going to make $300,000 next year. And your friends and family go, okay. And then you don't. And then they go, I thought you were going to make 300,000 this year. No, you're going to focus on a timeline to 300,000 because that's going to get you more than 300,000. You focus on the timeline, not the money. You focus on the timeline to it. What do I need to do to get up there? I know exactly what I have to do. Activate those 5 things. Let's go. Reconnect to what I want and say it every single day. So personal brands are typically between 6 and 7. And if you're just a solopreneur, I would love you to earn $300,000 a year. I would love that. So work out what your Thrive number is. Work out how many products you need to sell your Thrive number, not how many products you have to sell for your income, just the income, gross income into your business. Because remember, if your margin's 100, you're getting all that money, but you're only keeping 6,000 for yourself, not 18. So remember, you're about to manage a whole lot of money in order to keep that special part just for yourself. Once you focus on that, you can grow your profit. So company brands are when you create it business partners. Most company brands are built to sell. I built every one of my brands to sell because I didn't want to call it my name. Not because I really built it to sell. Did I believe somebody was going to buy my business? Maybe. But mostly I built it because I didn't want to call it my name. So company brands can grow, but you don't really get to an 8-figure business without a structure of company around you. It's really quite incredible. This is probably something that I need to reiterate to you because I said it probably 3 times yesterday. I have watched businesses start from scratch, struggle to make $400. The next year they struggled to make $1,200. The next year, this is per client, the next year they struggled to make $1,800. The next year they struggled to make $2,500, but every year they went up 1 increment of income. And every year they pushed back, right? I can't because it doesn't work. This won't work in my town. And I watched them learn the hard lesson first. This will work in your town. Other people are making it work. And then they get stuck in their ego and comparison. Well, I'm better than her, him. And then I go, no, think about it. Each increment that you actually go up in, you learn something more about yourself. You learn something more about outgrowing other people who are not making as much money as you. You start to talk about money differently, and then your family and friends acknowledge that you're on a different path away from money, and they might shame you about it or go, ooh, who do you think you are? Or, you know, because they are struggling with the fact that you're suddenly making money. You're about to change, and you don't do that in like lotto win increments. You do it step by step, putting those prices up step by step, taking 1 step at a time. Because here's the thing about increments, it's the evidence. We are such ridiculous creatures. Do something you love. So you finally do something you love and still look out to see if everybody likes it. Work with purpose. I am working with purpose. Is it good enough? Build a business you love. I do love it, but do they love it? We're so worried about other people. But as you start to create this income, more money starts to flow in, and suddenly you realize you're asking for more. Here's the crazy thing. Asking for more is actually easy. You guys have already been doing it. You manifest like this. When you're down and out, all of us either pray or ask for assistance. In that moment, we say things like, I just need to get through this. And what do you get given? Enough to get through this. I just need to pay the rent. And what do you get? Rent. But you don't get food money because you didn't ask for food money. I just need to get to this level. And what do you get? No more and no less than what you ask for. And you're not asking for enough because only enough shows up. So when I started to learn this and apply this, I started to think, okay, I'm going to ask for more. Cool, well, I want 20 grand a week then. Guess how long it took that to start happening in my business? Went from 6 grand to 20 grand a week in a month and maintained it for a year. And then I was like, careful what you wish for. I didn't say, and I would get paid 10 grand of that. So there I was, asking for it. Once you start asking for it, you're going to be quite shocked at how quickly it turns up. Now you've got to keep it. And when there's no direction and connection, you're not going to keep it for you. You're going to give it away. It'll fall away, or you will give it away to people. Because you haven't told that money what it's for. You haven't given it the direction and said, this is for my future health. You haven't said, this is for my future trip to Europe. You haven't defined it, focused on it, and allowed that to become a thing. So if you don't define it and get that good with it, but once you do, you start to see the evidence that it's showing up, and then all of a sudden, this feels good. I'm not struggling for money anymore. I overcorrected. I call it the daddy warbucks. I wanted to pay for everything. I mean, why not? I'm rich. That's how I felt. I suddenly had this income. We'd all go to lunch. I was like, I got it. And everybody, my friends, everybody, even a guy I was dating at the time, they were like, why are you paying for everything? And I was like, yeah, because I can. I realized how people-pleasing that was when I got to the end of it, and I said, give all your money away to your friends and family and then see who will feed you and house you when you need it the most. And I realized I was giving it away to show off, to give a feeling, to show this, like, look at me, I'm like, and it was a sense of power. Making money gives you this feeling of power. So it's okay, you're growing in increments and you're going to grow it. You're going to grow that value in you. You know, there's a moment where you just it starts working and you feel like it's magic because you don't realize what happened in that moment. You're just like, what is happening right now? Now it's working. You can create those magical increments every year. It doesn't just happen, it's not one and done. That magic can grow if you focus on it, so let's focus on the magic. So, you know, everything you do in joy and you start to see evidence and you start to feel good and you start to respond reinforces the timeline to what you want. It also gives you more self-worth, it gives you more connection, it gives you more focus. When you add more focus, you start adding more value and all of a sudden more confidence, more money and more joy. Because you are just focused on what you want at your full power. I say watch this timeline skyrocket. Before I did my Creative Life class, when I set that big intention to be the first $500,000 workshop with Craig, I had already done the work on the timeline to that. I knew that when I set that intention, it was going to be a trajectory. I knew that because I'd done all the steps in the 2 years up until that moment. And when I stood there that day, I was like, this is the moment I have created for myself. I have a goal, I have an intention, I have a connection, I have a focus, I have the goods, I practice the content, I know it's good, and I am connected with my authentic voice because I am fucking nobody. I'm a nobody. And everything I was afraid of, uneducated, old, fat, irrelevant, who would listen to me, Kiwi accent, all of it came up and I went, it's okay. It's okay. I'm all of those things and all of those things make me just human like you. And when you realized that I was just like you were like, she did it. That's why when women of color succeed, children look at her and say, I can be her. That's why we do this. We do this for the little girls that want power and the little boys too. The people who want their own money can see somebody uneducated or like them succeeding and making money, because when we see people like us, that's why, like, don't get all of this wrong. You get up on the stage and suddenly it's like, what am I wearing? And everyone's commenting on my appearance and oh, my weight and oh, my age and do I get Botox? All of that is irrelevant to authenticity. The one thing I have to say is everything I ever did as an older woman or a woman that just owned the fact that I wasn't like this like bright, shiny commercial thing, but I was just a real instructor, was the fact that people resonated with my truth and my authenticity and that they saw themselves in me. That means when you go online, you don't have to worry about the haters. You have to worry about the people that are like you, that want you, that are your people, and that's who I'm talking to. I don't care about millennials or Gen X or whatever they're called. I'm Gen X, Gen Z. I don't care about the young ones who are like, this is not how it works anymore, man, with their vocal fry. That's cool. They're going to go somewhere else. I want women and men over 40 that want to connect and make money, and they're my people. It's like, so when people are like, oh, but you're old and you're that, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm looking for people who are like me. So I need you to put yourself out there, knowing you're good enough to attract the people who are just like you, that want your voice, your energy, and who you are. And you know, when somebody, I've always said this, okay, this is the craziest energy. But as a photographer, I got 3 photographers and I trained them to shoot like me. But when they would struggle in a shoot, they would come and get me into the room, and I had to walk into this room, not the photographer that they've met, not the one who's controlling the space, but clearly someone with command. And I'd walk in and do it in a subtle way. I'd be like, oh, what are you guys doing? Oh, this. And I would help without, they would ignore me. They wouldn't make eye contact with me. They were like, I don't know who you are, but this is my photographer and this is the person who's the most important. So when I'm really blowing up, I watch Nikki make connections with her community. And when she makes a new connection networking, people fall in love with Nikki, not me. So when Nikki says, my mentor is Sue Bryce, and they go, cool, but they're here for Nikki. So it's always the weirdest thing. I always say to myself, no, that's your people. And you attract your people, and I attract my people, and you attract your people. So who are your people? And every time you put yourself out there online, simply say, I'm talking to me. So if you're talking about business, talk about business how you wanted somebody to talk to you 5 years ago. And if you're talking about self-value, talk about how you wanted somebody to teach you 5 years ago. Because all I've ever done, in the millions of dollars of content that I've written and sold in the last 15 years, all I've ever done is written down what I went through. And it's like, and then I was like, cool. And people resonate with that. It's a crazy thing. And then it's a trajectory of how many units you can sell. You know, your long vision is important. And you can put a long vision there. But if the timeline of what you're creating is not achievable in the next year, you've made the vision too long and you've made the timeline too long. And that's why there's increments, because you walk in steps. You grow in steps, you unfold in steps. So creating a timeline to what we want is really creating the steps to it, not the timing. The timeline to what we want is irrelevant. Time is irrelevant on this timeline. It's simply a timeline of next steps. How fast you can walk those steps connected will be how fast you can get to the end of that timeline. Do you understand that? Do not make this as, I'm going to give myself 3 years. No, that's timing, and those are rules, and that's not creation, those are limits. Instead, you are saying, I know what I want, and I'm going to create the steps and the timeline to it. So I want you to look at my increments of growth, because my increments of growth was so perfectly matching of most of the people that I coach. All right, so in 2001, 2, I went freelance and I made $25,000 a year, which, by the way, was exactly what my wage was the year before. How many of you started your business and made your wage in the first year? Hands up. Yep. Because when you come from a wage, that's exactly what you do. You return to that wage mentality. I worked out that really quickly. Then all of a sudden I created my business in my garage, and I instantly got a business partner that gave me no equity. So she got a free 50%, because that's what you do when you're dumb and stupid and you need somebody stronger and prettier to speak in front of you, and you hide behind them. And then I instantly got 2 staff, because I made money, and then I went, look, I'm dripping in money. I will surround myself with a team and I will be important. And then they all got paid and I didn't. So the whole point of that was I worked out really quickly that I couldn't sell. I couldn't sell my work. Everything felt like selling, which means I felt not good enough, my work felt not good enough, and I couldn't say my prices. So the first 3 years I learned how to break through selling. The first breakthrough was getting to $1,800 per client. The next breakthrough was $3,500. The next was $5,000. They grow in increments. My business grew very fast. I'd cornered one market. I had a product that was awesome, a service that was incredible. I had dialed it in. I had mastered my craft. And then suddenly I had a team of people around me that could sell it for me because I couldn't sell. I hid behind their selling as we made $1 million. And it wasn't until I hit my rock bottom in 2009 that I realized I had never confronted selling in myself. I had paid people to sell for me. Does that work? Yes, it does. Unfortunately, it doesn't work in the long term because what I'm attracting is I have guilt and shame, which meant my business made $1 million, but I did not because I could not keep the money. Do you understand? If I could keep that money, that $1 million would have come to me, not to all of my staff and everybody but me. It was only in that moment that I realized in year 5, we hit $920,000 in gross income. I had massive overheads, a commercial lease, a business partner, and 8 staff. And look at my income, because this is the income trajectory of my business. And this is my income. And suddenly I realized I had a business that wasn't working for me, but it was working for everybody else. Not only that, I was completely wilting and dying in this business. I wasn't running it smart. It had too many overheads. It had too many staff, but those staff made me feel important. That business partner made me feel like I was worthy of making money, even though I wasn't selling or anything. They all taught me something incredible. And then one day I realized I wanted to die. I was wilting and I wanted to die doing this job that I hated. Now that essentially was mine. I could have taken it straight back to my house. I could have gone back to my garage, got rid of my staff, gone down to a part-time makeup artist and carried on as a photographer, creating $3,500 a day, if not more, in sales and being completely happy. But I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. I'd started this in '89. It was 2008. The time had come for me to do something different, to learn more. I was like, maybe I start a business, a franchise. And I instantly started studying franchise. Now it's 2009, and I realized, no, franchise is not the future. Online education is the future. All right, so I moved from New Zealand. I left my studio. I told them if I stay, I will die. They were perplexed. You just built $1 million studio. And I said, yes, and it doesn't work for me. Because that's a lie. It made money, it just didn't make money for me. It didn't give me fulfillment, and it certainly gave me no joy. So off I went to Australia, like I told you yesterday, hit my rock bottom financially. All my savings were gone. That was the moment I realized I wasn't doing it. I wasn't doing it. So if you are on the edge of breaking through this, I want you to know whatever you can't break through, you're not doing it yet. Doing it. You're talking about it. You might even be posting about it, but you're not walking the walk. And when you start to walk the walk, it will change you. You know, part of hitting that rock bottom that year was not only did I realize I wasn't doing it, when I started doing it, it moved so fast. Look at how my income went from rock bottom in 2009 to $1 million in 2015. But this time, this gross income was not, for 8 staff and everything. Most of them were digital products, which meant my profit margin was significant. And it was only here. Now look at the steps I took to get there. Because in 2009, I already had a digital product, 2010, I had a physical product and a physical service. I had no digital products and no digital service. In 2013, I added merchandise. Okay, so you see how I jumped up to instantly 160K. I added merchandise, and all of this happened within 6 months of me doing my big declaration. So all of a sudden I went fully booked. I was on stage, which 10x is your business, standing up on stage. And then all of a sudden I went to $160,000 by adding those cards. Now they were a physical product that I shipped. So I was making money while I sleep, and then I wake up in the morning and take my cards to the post, send them all out, which was a big pain in the butt, but it was making me money. Then, because I was on stage, I decided to do in-person workshops, and I opened 6 in-person workshops and sold them out. Now, if you do a 6 in-person workshop, I was netting about $20,000 off those workshops. But I was also flying there with a couple of people and paying them, but I was still netting a lot of money. But it's trading money for time. So once I'd got through 6 workshops, I now had 100 people saying, well, we want to do the next workshop. And I'm like, I'm fully booked for the year. I could not see them. They were booking me for photo shoots because they wanted also to connect with me as a provider of that. And I was just suddenly fully booked again. Now, so I add merchandise, I add speaking. Now, speaking doesn't get you paid very much at all. In fact, most conferences will be lucky to give you a flight, 2 nights accommodation, and maybe $500. It's not the money. If you get an agent and you blow up, and then you can be $50,000 to $100,000 for the big talks, but that's very few people. You don't do it for the money. You do it for the audience, and you do it to convert that audience by teaching them so that they follow you home, not by selling to them, but by giving to them, just like you do your clients. So once I added speaking, that also exponentially booked my workshops, which inevitably booked my coaching. And by the time I got to 2012, by the time I walked into Craig's, I was already sitting at $320,000 in income for the year, because that was the question he asked me, how much money do you earn? And I said, this year I will earn around $300,000. And he was like, cool. I said, I sell a physical product, I sell merchandise that I ship, I sell a physical service. And he goes, now you're about to create your first digital product. And it was then in 2012 that I created my first, and then 13, my second digital product, and then 14, I keep adding digital products. And then it was right about there that my income got from $400,000 to $600,000 in that year, because I kept adding digital products to my income. I had 1 staff member, she's part-time, and that's it. It was the first time I turned around and I was like here, and I was like, okay, that's where most people want to be. I want to be earning $280,000, $300,000. That gives me a good, comfortable life. But when I started to add products and I started to get up to $400,000, it was when I added digital products specifically. The more digital products I add, the more money I made. Then I got that up to $600,000 in income by myself. And then I built my own platform. Why? Because I'm a sucker for punishment. Couldn't you have been happy making $600,000 and giving people all this? No, I need a platform. The thing is with the platform is every moment that I've decided to grow more in my career, I've regretted it. Because I've looked back at the girl that was in a garage just taking photos with love, and I crave her connection. Oh my gosh, she wasn't Sue Bryce. She was just someone that was singing for a supper. Every day I'd be like, what can I make for you? And how do I make you feel like a queen? And like, tell me about you. And I think of her, and she was struggling for validation and to be seen, but she was so in love with her craft. I crave her. I crave the woman that was in that studio apartment in LA going, look at me, I'm going to make $1 million in income on my own. And this is an uneducated girl from South Auckland who was told she would never be anything. And why didn't I stay there? Because every growth period I realized was to build something bigger, and then be seen as bigger and more, and become more. And the truth is at any time you can actually stop and say, this is the income that will bring me balance in life, without, I need to be the next step and I need to be the next step, because it's very hard to hold your authenticity when it gets so big that you don't feel connected to it. And holding the authenticity of who you are was really, really a hard thing to do. So it was adding merchandise, adding speaking. You can also add reels or blogging to that. It will work the same way. I added an in-person workshop, just another product to sell. I added on one-on-one coaching. It didn't last long, not my jam. I added workshops. I added digital products. And by the time I added digital products, I was unstoppable. By the time I got to 2014, I had a revenue stream coming from all 8 products you can make into your business, because that's just smart. That is just smart. In 2015, I did my $1 million year with my platform, and I realized in that moment that I've gone to a 7-figure business on my own. Now, I've done a 7-figure business, company brand, but I've never taken a personal brand to 7 figures. I want you to know what it takes to get to 7 figures. You either have to have the content that's going to go en masse when you look at that creator calculator, because you're really looking at the creator calculator of numbers, like how many units can I move and how many people. And if you have a timeline to that, then clearly, and I had a path to that. Okay, but I out-earn most of the instructors on those platforms by 80 to 90%. So I am an anomaly, or am I? You know, I've heard people say right place, right time. What, for the last 15 years? And I've heard people say she's an anomaly because, but I was like, am I though? Or did I just do the work? Because I watched every creative live and said, I know what they're doing wrong and I know what they're doing right, and I did everything they did right and nothing they did wrong, and then I just keep giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving, and when people think I can't give anymore, I always have more to give. I can't stop. So that's part of replenishing that content and making sure that that content is rich and full. Am I an anomaly, or am I somebody that focused on that? Because I saw most instructors come onto that platform and say, I'm just here to build my own audience and get them to come to my workshops. And I'm like, cool, I'm here to make money and change people's lives. You know, they're hand in hand to me. So it's very important. I do want to talk about this. In order to get to an 8-figure business, you need a growth team. I got that platform to $1 million, they got it to 6. It cost me 50% of my equity. Do you understand? People will work for you in startup for equity. But when your pie is worth $5 and you're writing $2.50 check, that feels good. Take this $2.50 piece of this pie. But when the pie's worth $6 million, you're writing a 50% check to those people, so you better be grateful for the fact that I wouldn't have got it to 6 without them. So for 50% equity to 6 times my business, that is significant growth. One of the most important things that I never want you to lose sight of is you are never to lose controlling interest of your own name or of your own company. If you do, it's on you. How we grew this was we created a platform which was a library. With that library became a subscription with the numbers you saw me project yesterday, that all of them came 10,000 every time. We added merchandise. We added live broadcasts, because anything live connection brings more people. We added a conference. We added awards and accreditation. We added the podcast with our incredible host, Nikki Klosser. Nikki, how many podcasts have you actually recorded to date?
I think just under 300.
That is a niche podcast.
Something like
about my business model. And it has how many downloads?
Close to 3 million.
3 million. Do you know why? Because it's other photographers telling photographers the steps they took through all of this. And they differ. Like I did it Sue's way, and then I did it this way, and then I did it Sue's way all the way because it worked, and then I put my spin on it this way. And all we've ever done is tell the story of people who have walked the walk. We're starting new interviews, a new show. We're interviewing self-employed stories, not photographer stories, self-employment, people that have built platforms, 6, 7, 8-figure businesses, how they did it, where they come from. I want to hear these stories. These stories are fascinating to me. So then we created a sister platform, right? Because we just keep growing. And as you keep growing like that, you realize that you can't get to 8 figures without people. So when people do their manifestation number and I go, what do you want to earn next year? They go 1.6 million. And I go, okay, what did you earn this year? And they're like, 25,000. And I go, cool. Do you have an OnlyFans? Like, what are we dealing with here? Because I've got to see this timeline. And if people say to me, that's not manifestation, I go, it is. Do you know why? I've done it. Do you know why I do it? Do you know what? It works. I've even had somebody say, the problem with you, Sue Bryce, is you teach people all about numbers, so you give them limits. And I said, oh, trust me, I'm not limiting people. I'm trying to get them off the seat. I'm not limiting people to $1 million. Oh, you're probably only going to earn $1 million this year. But those are my limits, okay? Do your best. That's not what we're struggling with here. People's limits are already set. I'm not giving them any. I'm trying to smash through them. You can see that to get that at 8 figures, you've got to jump through some big hoops of structure. So come back to this, look at that. At the end of the day, this is my brand, it's my personal income. If you start to look at this income over the next year as how you want to grow this income, I want you to create a path to it, and that's how you do it. All right? Now, come back to this. Now, remember your creation energy. First off, you're going to put that money down and you're going to say, I'm going to earn this much money. That's my goal. This is goal setting. Okay? And in that goal setting, you're saying, I want it. And in that goal setting, when you write it down, you're saying, I want this 500,000, this 300,000, this 800,000. And in it, you go, and I have clarity as how I can actually achieve it. There is clarity to me on how I can walk that path. It's going to involve me doing stuff that I'm going to be very nervous about. I'm going to need courage and support, but I can see a path to it, because when I have clarity, I start to form a vision around it. That's when I'm like, okay, my vision is set. So I need you to go away, get clarity around that number, and start getting certainty and conviction that you actually can walk that path. You're going to start to go, holy shit, can I do that? Then you're going to speak it out for the first time. You're going to say it to Sue. You're going to say it to your spouse, your partner. You might say it to a friend that you trust, or one of your children. You're going to say, I am going to make this much money. I'm creating a path to this much money. I'm creating a timeline to it. And you're going to speak it out. And somebody's going to poo-poo it right in that moment, because it's coming out of your throat chakra, and that's your power center. So if they poo-poo it and you go like this, and you suck it back in, guess what? You just ate it, and if you ate it, you just sent it away. You canceled the request. To uncancel that request, speak it out again, and this time speak it out with more connection and more power. Speak it out in a verb. Instead of saying this is what I want, say this is what I'm doing to get that timeline to that result, and watch me. How long is it going to take me? As long as I can wake up every day, fill myself with the joy and power and the focus and the clarity of what I want, and certainty and conviction. I can get excited about it until I get these goosebumps, and then I know I'm in alignment, and now I'm unstoppable, because everything is just coming to me, and evidence is showing up, and I can see it, and it's working, and now I know I am in my full power. I am good. I am powerful. Okay, and you think it, and then every day you get up and you do it. You love it because it's commitment, and you do it because it's congruency, and there you walk. And then you listen to your gut instinct every day, and you honor your creativity, and you honor yourself, and you honor your feelings. And then every single day, and every time you get paid, and every time you have something great happen in your business, you receive it. And when you receive it with gratitude, because you say, I am getting something that I asked for. Gratitude is not hippy-dippy magic. It's a prayer of love. It's a thank you. It's a I received the one thing I asked for. I wanted this and you just gave it to me and I receive it because I asked for it. You got to receive it, otherwise it will fall away. How much of this energy? Who feels like that? Who feels like I just spoke? Oh, when she says it, it's so exciting. This is how I feel. How much of that are you putting into your finances? Are you waking up every day going, no guilt and shame, no avoidance, let's have a look at the money, let's set our money goals, let's work out where our money's going. Where are we going on holiday next year, babe? The Bahamas? Okay, I'm going to make a bank account for that. If you walk to your money like that every day, money would follow you. Money would be like, where are we going? To the Bahamas. Where else? On a cruise. Like, money gets so excited when you do, but instead it's like, nobody likes me, my work's not good enough, they're better than me, ego, competition, and you're attracting from that place. So when I go back to this and I go, oh yes, I see it, I think it, I love it, I speak it, I do it, I feel it, I receive it, I'm grateful for it, I focus on it. Money. Do that to your money. How many people are doing it to their relationship right now? What you most resent about your partner holds your greatest emotional need. What you most resent about your partner holds your greatest emotional need. Who has said my partner doesn't support me? Who has said my partner doesn't believe in me? Who has said my partner doesn't believe I'm worthy of this? That is what you need. Your partner is not doing that to you. They are showing you the mirror of what you are struggling with in yourself. When you acknowledge what you resent about them, you acknowledge your part in it. Truth bomb. So when you really sit and connect with yourself and your own creativity, and I ask you, are you fulfilled? Do you feel fulfillment in what you do? Because if you don't, you will seek filling. You will seek to be filled up with something else. Money doesn't give you fulfillment. Actually, that's not true. If fulfillment is that travel every year, then money will bring that travel. But don't say it's money. It's the travel. It's the family time and the ability to take your family to Italy or do something that they will remember forever. What an incredible experience. So if there's no fulfillment, there's no focus, no connection, no energy going to it, and all we have to do is give it energy in order for it to light up. So what are you going to focus in the next 8 weeks? I'm going to actually, we'll stop there because I've got this next little segment is really powerful to me, and I want to just take our break because we're due for a break, and I want to come back and hit this when I come back because I want to talk about discipline. I want to talk about achieving your goals, and I've got a really different take on this than most people, and when you hear the way I achieve goals, you're going to go like, oh, okay. I think it might be a little different than how most people do the goals. So I'll keep discipline. Are there any questions regarding anything I've talked about?
There are. One question, well, okay, we have 2 questions. I'm going to start with the one that I already know how you're going to respond to, but a couple people asked about it. And that is, how do you compete with other people who are providing services, really talented people, at a very cheap rate? How do you compete with that?
Why do you care? They're not getting paid. They don't have a profit margin. They're not paying tax. They're not legitimate. What's your problem?
They're worried they're not going to get hired. They're worried they're not going to get hired because they're just going to hire the other cheap people.
No. You're focused on what they're doing and not focused on what you're doing. So you're just avoiding what you need to do. If you're better than them, go and be better than them. Who cares? Who cares what Johnny's doing? Johnny's a dick. It doesn't matter.
Your clients aren't going to be, your target client is not going to be price shopping.
If you are looking at your competition, you're not creating, you're competing. This is about you. This is about you trying to be better than them and saying, I'm better than them, but they don't even charge, so I can't charge. So you're saying, I can't charge either. You don't believe you're good enough and you're putting it on other people. That's judgment, that's criticism. Who cares? Get out of your own head. Stop judging other people for how they make money. It's not your business. Why don't you go and make some money and show us how it's done if you think you know everything? Think about it. It's really confronting because that energy it's resentment. You're resenting somebody else and what you think they're doing and you don't even know. Who do you think you are? Come on, get out of competition. Now, that means you're stuck in comparison and self-doubt and ego. Simple. Don't take that hard. I created my whole business that way until I learned. You can't care about what other people are doing. Look, even as a photographer that charged $3,500 a shoot, I can only photograph at best 120 people a year. If I live in a town of 3,000 people, there's enough for others. But no, all we can, and that's what we do when we avoid what we have to do. We focus on what other people aren't doing, and what other people aren't doing. Okay, I think the bigger question to this person would be, what do you think that person is not doing? And if they say valuing themselves and charging more, then you can say, then that's what you need to do.
Another question is, Meg asked, I'm getting stuck on products. What about those of us who have no desire to pursue the digital products and the podcast and the speaking platform? I just specifically want to provide this one service.
Then do it. Then do what I just did. Work out how much you want to earn. Work out how many units you need to sell to do it. Work out if there's actually a timeline to it, if you can scale your business to get to it, and create that number doing the one product that you enjoy the most. You don't have to open other revenue streams into your business if you are not connected to them. I don't like podcasting. You clearly know I have a problem with my speech. I have an ability to hold a stream of consciousness for 8 hours. So that makes me not a good interviewer. Right? Because I'll ask somebody a question and answer it and talk for an hour, and then they'll be like, it was great to meet you. And I was like, was it though? I learned this a long time ago. I'm like, I'm not for podcasts. So when the boys were like, we need a podcast, I was like, Nikki!
I'll do it.
And why? Nikki was already podcasting. She'd already created Busy as a Mother. She was talking to mothers and women in business. So I was like, you're already doing it. I'm not doing it. Now, can I podcast? Yep. Will I make money and be successful at it? Nope. Will Nikki? Yep. Do we pay her to do my podcast? Yep, because she's a way better interviewer than me. Also, she interviews me on my podcast, which is awesome, because then she asks me a question and I talk for an hour. See how I set that up? It doesn't, as long as it's connected to you. The question that they just asked me was, what if I don't want to be all these other things that you're talking about? And the pushback I get is from photographers, because I've taught photographers, is, oh, so now all photographers are going to be speakers? And I'm like, no, just the ones that want to, because change is hard for people and ego is hard for people. You can do whatever lights you up out of those 8 products. Would I create more revenue streams as you grow? Yes, because look, I created an entire revenue stream around this podcast and a revenue stream that pays Nikki, but it's not me doing it, but I'm still getting the revenue stream into my business. So I think that's really important.
Okay, I just wanted to read a couple quotes. So Frederica, she's like our little cheerleader for you. She was encouraging people and saying, I've been a student of Sue's since 2016, and she always over-delivers every time. So if you're hesitant about signing up for the course, you can watch it on repeat, and the 8 weeks of coaching, go for it. And Natalie said, I felt so much gratitude after yesterday for how far I've come, and I'm so excited for what's next. And that just made my heart so happy.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick break.
Yep, we are. And before we go to break, I just want to reiterate that you don't have to spend years trying to figure this out alone and doing this by yourself. This is the course that will help you just have the guidance you need to change your life and have more freedom and more financial stability and to do what you love. And I mean, Sue's been my mentor for the last decade. Thousands of us have benefited from her guidance, so don't feel like you have to do this alone. You can get this course in the next 8 weeks for only $199. That goes up after today. So make sure if you're gonna get the course, get it today. And we will be back in 15 minutes with a ton more for the rest of our day. Thank you.
Did anybody...